Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. Got a Monday afternoon edition, a post 49ers Raiders preseason game edition. Super excited to welcome Josh Harper to the show. He's a former Fresno State Bulldog wide receiver. I know he's had some pretty major records there, and I'll have him tell us all about that. But Josh, welcome to TED Talks Ball. Please tell everybody about yourself. I've got the banner. I don't know if I've flown it yet. Let me get that going. And tell everybody anything I may have missed, anything that, in fact, let me get that too. Like your handle and your YouTube channel. I will get that momentarily. I was kind of fumbling around with Twitter there. Oh, I do have it. There we go. So at jharp the second is his Twitter handle. And then at Josh Harper TV for YouTube. Everybody make sure to follow him on Twitter, like and subscribe on YouTube. He just started his channel. Really knowledgeable guy. He's making the rounds. He's a Las Vegas resident and a 49er fan and really great guest on shows. And so just so happy to have you on TED Talks Ball and excited to chop it up with you here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I've seen you come across my Twitter a lot, and I like what you have to say. So no, I wouldn't pass on the opportunity to jump on and talk ball with you. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Josh, any shows that you got coming up that you want to promote with other content creators? I don't mind doing that now and or at the end of the show too.
Yeah. So
I know you've been busy last week. I can't imagine things have changed this week for you.
Oh yeah. So I've just been making my rounds. A lot of the 49er content creators who have been doing it have been reaching out to me for me to join on their show. So I didn't second guess it at all. So I met with a lot last week, like Croc, of course, Steph and Ryan and those guys, and me and Marco are in talks of possibly coming up with a show. Weekly show get together. And then I know I've been doing a weekly show every Wednesday with CG Ruthless, Chris. So we just got that going, and it's fun. So I'm always down to talk ball. So those are the shows that I'm currently working on.
Really cool. Well, congratulations on getting started in the content creation world. It's a lot of fun. I encourage anyone who's thinking about doing it, give it a try, see if you like it, see if it works for you. A lot of help was given to me to help get me started. And so I'm super happy to help other people getting started. And so anything I can do, be sure and let me know. Don't be shy. Happy to give back what was so freely and easily given to me. So real quick, I'll just check in here real quick with the audience. Got Bryant Culp in the house. Saying hit the like button, everybody. Bryant has a great YouTube channel as well. So does his wife, Tony. She does Saturdays at 5. She does a women's roundtable. Bryant does morning shows Saturdays and Sundays. He had a great one Sunday before the game. He's also a big Jake Moody fan, so he's probably a little unhappy, just like a lot of us Trey Lance fans.
Yeah.
Today, a little bit unhappy with that performance. But I'd say for both of them, TBD. Don't put too much into one game. But we'll get to all that. So I also want to call it James Durnall here too. James is from the UK, and he's like, and we're back. He was on earlier. I had Mark Adams on it too, and I'm helping him promote his Roger Craig Hall of Fame sort of campaign to help get Roger into the Hall of Fame, which is obviously super worthy and a noble cause and something that we should all be clamoring for. Should have happened already, if I'm being honest. No doubt about it. We've got Raphael 562 saying good afternoon, Josh, Ted, Josh, and everyone. What's up, Raphael? And it wouldn't be Raphael if the next chat wasn't like and subscribe, everyone. Yeah, it really helps. So I mean, we're streaming to both channels today. So if you're on TED Talks Ball, make sure you pop over to Josh's channel. The link is in the description, but it's also just Josh Harper TV on YouTube. You can type that in as well. And if you're watching on Josh's channel, make sure you pop over to my channel and give me a like and subscribe at some point too. wait till after. The other thing too is like if you're watching on a browser, like open up two tabs. Watch us both at the same time. We both get the view hours and everything. It really helps us. Or even if you're on a phone and you can't split it that way, you can always pop out. If you have a tablet, if you've got two devices, watch on two devices. If you could spare the battery juice, we would really appreciate it. It really helps. So James is saying here, are we talking last night's game? Well, yeah, we're going to get to that. Josh was at the joint practices last week. You attended both practices, is that correct, Josh?
Both of them. I was at both, and it was pretty much the same outcome. So I'm excited to talk about that again if there's any questions or anything like that. But yeah, I was at both.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about that because you and I have a kind of a unique perspective in that you were at both joint practices and I was at all 9 of the open training camp practices, leading up to that. Obviously, there were 2 that were closed to just media only. So there were 11. I made 9 of the 11 practices in training camp, essentially. But, I'll tell you, in my perspective of going there was Trey Lance was the best in camp. He won more days than anyone else. Darnold was the closest in number of days won, but then Darnold had a couple days that he just straight up lost or was at least in 3rd place, whereas every other day that Lance didn't win, he was in 2nd or arguably 2nd with Purdy. So like I've just been saying, Purdy hasn't looked like himself. He has not looked like his 2022 self. He threw a lot of picks in camp. He threw literally, I don't think, any good deep balls or maybe one. He did have a nice completion to Kittle on a deep ball, but it was badly underthrown and it should have been a TD. And he took a lot of sacks. And so, and I know, you're not supposed to read too much into training camp stats or interceptions or whatever. Like, they're supposed to work on things that are their weaknesses and things like that. And we don't know exactly what Kyle told them to do per se. But I do think, there's that saying of, you practice how you play. I kind of equate camp interceptions to QB wins, right? They don't mean nothing and they don't mean everything, but so they do mean something, right? They're not totally meaningless. You don't want to be just throwing, especially when you got an interception every day and a lot of pick sixes. It's just not ideal. And then it sounded like kind of more of the same when they went to Vegas as well, that Purdy still really wasn't back to himself. But please tell me what you saw, Josh.
Yeah, so like you said, so I'm only going solely off of, the 2 practices in Vegas. And then I do follow a lot of the 49er content creators, you, Krog, Ryan, and those guys. So what I saw in Vegas was a quarterback looking to get back to himself. Not sure if he's fully healthy, but he would make some throws where you're like, okay, that's Brock Purdy of last year. But he was also making a lot of throws where that were picked off or tip picks. So I feel like last year we would kind of sweep that under the rug because of the type of situation he was in, and 7th round draft pick coming in after 2 quarterbacks getting hurt. This year that's not the case. He's the solidified number 1. We're expecting big things out of him, and he's not a rookie no more. So he's held to a different standard. Like everybody says, this is a Super Bowl roster, right? So nobody should be held at a different standard there. So Brock Purdy is held here now. He's our starting quarterback, and he has to get back to himself. So I want to see him be healthy and get back to that quarterback who we saw last year, who did. He helped us win games last year. He made some big time throws. He was able to escape the pocket, get out, make some wild plays. But he also was throwing the ball in harm's way. And a lot of them weren't picked off. And I think we're starting to see that in camp. If I'm not mistaken, he's leading the quarterbacks in interceptions, if I'm not mistaken, during training camp.
Absolutely. Not even close. By 3 or in fact, Darnold barely even had 1 in camp, but that's because, people have said dink and dunk for Purdy. Some people famously said that in the offseason, but really it was Darnold who was dink and dunk in camp. And Lance was the one pushing it, and Purdy was kind of in between. So I'll give Purdy a little credit that he was pushing it more than Darnold. But yeah, I mean, I think Lance maybe had 1 or 2 picks, and I think Purdy had like 6, including 2 or 3 pick sixes, so or 7 even. He had a lot more, and he took more reps too, though. So there's you always got to weigh everything, of course, when you're looking at this stuff. And yeah, I've been a little bit hard on Purdy, where I've been saying he was mid last season, but honestly, I think that's about right. And people think it's so mean. But like you said, as a rookie, as Mr. Irrelevant, it's actually incredibly high praise to say that you're middle of the pack for NFL veteran QBs. And he was amazing for a rookie QB. And when I'm saying that he doesn't look like himself, I don't want anybody to confuse that I want him not to. Like you said, you want him to do better. I do too. Like I want Lance and Purdy to both be the best they can be and push each other to their highest heights. And then whoever wins is the best for it. Yeah. I really like Purdy. I really like Lance. I just like Lance's upside a little bit better. And we'll get to some of that when we get to the game. Yeah, no doubt about it. James said they had joint practice like a prison camp. Media couldn't show us what was going on. Absolutely not. In fact, media could barely see what was going on, it sounded like, right? I mean, you guys needed binocs and
we were so far away. I had to stand on top of the bleachers just to get a perfect view. And even then, I was able to see the play and how it developed. But like sometimes I couldn't see what number it was. So I know like one of the tweets was like Trey Lance deep ball to Danny Gray, but Danny Gray didn't even practice, right? So it was
maybe Tay Martin. A lot of times I got confused because he was 86, like Danny was last year.
So it was probably Tay Martin, and I can confirm that. But so we were way out there, and I had to stand on top of the bleachers just to get a good view. So definitely needed binoculars.
No doubt. James Renault has more reps, more ints. That's true, James, but it was like way more percentage of interceptions. It wasn't just because he had more reps. It was just he was putting the ball in harm's way a lot more often than Lance or Darnold were. And maybe that's because Lance and Darnold are competing, so they're trying to be more careful. And Purdy's just like, YOLO, you only live once, just let it rip and see what happens, because he had no fear of repercussions from throwing interceptions. That could be part of it too. We'll see. And I mean, I'd say it's likely that he'll do better. I mean, put it this way, like we thought, initially that he wouldn't even be cleared to play until about now, right? Mid-August. This is right about the time that we thought Purdy would get cleared to play, or cleared to practice, not play, because I don't think, maybe now he's cleared to play now that restrictions are off. But there's a big difference between cleared to play and like full go, ready to play in a game. So, and then the thought was, well, will he be ready by week 1, right? Because there's still a lot of things you have to do to get ready. And so now he just got a 2-week jump start on that. He was cleared more in the end of July. And so, I mean, it seems reasonable that he should be back by week 1. My whole thing is, I'm just saying, is like, if he's not, we're going to really regret giving him all these first team reps, where we could have been getting Lance ready. I feel like we already kind of regret giving Darnold all these second team reps to compete with Lance, when, I mean, it's so clear to me Lance is better than Darnold.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. Like you said just a few minutes ago, Purdy may not be dink and dunk depending on what people's definition is, but Sam Darnold has definitely been dink and dunk. I don't care what your definition is. He has definitely been dink and dunk when it comes to the 2 practices that I saw. It was like he was afraid to make a mistake. He just wants to make that right play and get on to the next play. So I definitely feel like Trey Lance had a better camp, and he was a better 2 practices and was way more aggressive. Granted, we didn't get to see it in the game, but we'll get to that. But yeah, I think Trey Lance is the better quarterback than Sam Darnold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just until I see Darnold keep it together in a game, I'm always going to worry about, the seeing ghosts. I was calling him 6 Cent Sammy for a while. It's kind of a derogatory term. But, I did stop that during camp, because he did play well during camp. He did have some best days in camp. And so I've really gone back to calling him Darnold or Sam. And I, it's probably a little bit derogatory for me to say that in the first place, but I think he earned some respect back from me at the very least. And I hope if push comes to shove and we do need to see him play, that he can do well. I just think that we really have two QBs. It's Darnold and Lance are the two. Jeez, Louise, excuse me, are the two that I think I would trust coming into a game and leading us to wins. I mean, maybe Darnold 1 or 2 wins here or there, but like if one had to play the whole season, I would want it to be Purdy or Lance. Yeah. So James said, "Yo, I subbed." Thanks, James. I appreciate that. And then Bryant's here. He says, "Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining, Bryant. We appreciate it." So as far as the game yesterday, we should probably get to some of that. We've kind of done the little preamble with camp and joint practices last week. Was there other stuff you wanted to talk about joint practices?
No, not at all. I mean, other than Darnold is a veteran, so you expect him to look a little better than what he did in those joint practices. But we're giving Darnold all this leeway as a national media. We're giving Darnold all this leeway as a veteran and who's played a lot of games in the NFL. But slandering Trey Lance, and I seen that all this morning on ESPN. So I just want to be fair to all quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Randy Daytona in the house. Welcome, Randy. Thanks for joining. Says all our QBs are not the answer to our problems. After year, 88% of QBs disappear. That's all QBs, not just Niners. There are only a handful of great QBs. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I just feel like QB has kind of held the 49ers back. I feel like, we've had this sort of long history of QB gaffes by Kyle, if you will. Like, I think I'm a Shanna fan. I wouldn't want to trade him for any other coach. I just want him to get a little bit better with the quarterbacks. I just feel like, passing on Mahomes for Cousins, mistake. Not getting Cousins, mistake. Yep. Keeping Jimmy when Brady wanted to come retire here, huge mistake. I think it cost us at least 1 ring, maybe 2. Stafford's available. We don't get him. And even as recently as last season, Purdy being QB3 to start the season. And people go, well, Purdy improved during the season. He ran the scout team and he got better. I'm like, well, we don't know because we didn't see Purdy with the ones. Right. He did not play any reps with the ones. So we have no baseline. And I'm going to say it makes sense. It stands to reason that he improved. He says he improved, and I believe him. I'm not going to call him a liar. But at the same time, we just don't know how much because we didn't get to see him with these same weapons that he came in and played with against the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. And granted, I mean, CMC wasn't here last offseason, but still, you could have had Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Juice, Jennings, Mitchell, some pretty talented weapons there. So, and then also obviously picking Hoyer, picking Mullins, picking CJ Beathard. These are not good. These are not good situations. Come on, Cap was on the team in 2016. A lot of people are like, oh, well, Cap got figured out and, Cap went down. And I'm like, I think a lot of it was bulky, ruined our roster. If you look at the roster in 2012 when we went to the Super Bowl compared to 2016 when we're, a 2-14 dumpster fire, right. It's a completely different group. Or like the people that are left were like totally washed and they shouldn't even have been around. Mm-hmm. It's like the same name, but not the same person. Right. So, I mean, ultimately, like this whole thing of like, oh, Kyle will make the right decision. I'm not one of those guys. I was for a while, and now I just got to say, even keeping Jimmy as the bridge QB, I think Lance needed a bridge, mm-hmm. but I think it would have been smarter to get somebody like Andy Dalton, who mm-hmm. the locker room doesn't have ties to, so then you could start subbing Lance in and sub packages and get him rolling slowly and gradually, rather than just sort of like all or nothing nonsense and not have the team revolt and just be like, oh, sorry, Jimmy took us down the field. It's not fair that Lance scored the TD. I mean, when really, if you're winning, that's all that should matter, honestly, mm-hmm. is like, hey, we got the W as a team. And that's, to me, that should be it. But clearly that's not the way this locker room works and Kyle pays attention to it. And God bless him. He's done the people seem to love him. They seem to love playing for him. So, like I said, I don't want to be too negative about it, but the QB and third round running back are two areas where I don't really trust Kyle. Well, now I'm starting to question third round tight end.
Yeah.
But third round in general, other than Fred Warner, I can't think of any. But the QB thing is huge. It's the most important position in football, and it seems to be a real blind spot for Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, I believe if we had Kirk Cousins, I think, believe it. Like, whether you feel good about Kirk Cousins or not, he's an established quarterback in the NFL, and with this roster, I think Kirk Cousins would have brought us a ring already.
I agree 100%. A lot of people hate Kirk Cousins, and I just say, you know what? Like, the poor guy just has never had a D on the Vikings other than 2019, where he had the terrible misfortune of running into us, where we had the number 2 D and the number 2 run game. And, of course, we ran it down their throat in the second half because Jimmy threw a ball to Kendricks that he caught, and then 2 more to Kendricks that he dropped, and Kyle's like, enough.
That's enough is enough.
Jimmy had 4 pass attempts in that whole second half, 2 a quarter, which is the exact number he had, in each half against the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game. So he had 12 pass attempts in 6 quarters running up to the Super Bowl. I think Cousins would have won us at least 1 Super Bowl as well, too, with this roster. The question is, will we have this roster? Because if we got him in 2018, we probably would have won more games. Would we have got Bosa? I don't know, maybe we got Max Crosby or something. You can always play those games. But just if somehow we had Cousins with this roster, I think we would have won at least 100%. He's better than people think. I think not having a defense kills quarterbacks. People get so focused on QB wins, but they're something, but they're not everything. They can be very misleading, especially when you have the number 1 defense, you have a solid O-line, and the best group of weapons in the NFL, and Kyle designing and calling the plays, then that can make your QB look a little bit better than they actually are. And I think we'll see that with Jimmy G this season with the Raiders. But that was long-winded, so don't let me talk.
No, you're right.
Have you talk, Josh? You're the guest.
Shanahan, like you said, Shanahan is one of the best in the NFL in drawing these plays up. Sometimes you're seeing these players wide open, right? And if our players, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, if they're wide, McCaffrey, if they're wide open and have time to turn around and get some yak, we're so dangerous. We're so dangerous. So yeah, it's unfortunate that Shanahan has missed on these quarterbacks. But hey, let's see what Purdy is. If maybe he gets us to the Super Bowl. Maybe he hasn't reached his ceiling like I think so. I don't know if you think that, but maybe he hasn't reached his ceiling.
Purdy? No, I don't think he's reached his ceiling. I just don't think it's much higher. I think he can get better with his footwork, not always bailing back and left. I think he can step up into the pocket more. I think he can throw with more anticipation. 2 of those last 2 could have kept him healthy in the Eagles game. But I don't see a lot more in whatever incremental gains I think he could make could be erased by DC's having his film and knowing his tendencies, and therefore, eliminating what he's good at and attacking what he's bad at, which we do see a lot with quarterbacks that have these quick flashes and maybe don't do well after. I'm not saying that will happen with Purdy, but it's something we all have to be concerned about. Real quick, we got Marco in the house, Clutch Gene Sports. OJ Harp. What's up, Marco? Thanks for joining. I think this might be Marco's first time on the show, so thanks for coming. And thanks for supporting J Harp and me. And I guess that brings up a point. Marco's on your channel. Anyone on Josh's channel, please be sure and like and subscribe on mine. Anyone on TED Talks Ball, please do the same for Josh. That's J Harper TV or Josh Harper TV on YouTube. And then, like I said, if you've got a browser open up another tab. Watch us both at the same time. If you're on a phone, whip out that tablet. Watch on the tablet too. It really helps us to get those view hours and the likes and subscribes. So thanks in advance, everybody. James Renault is watching the comeback last year and watching the quaternary. Okay, that must be. Real quick, ready to turn us at number 88, our tight end 2, Fumagalli. He had a nice catch from Lance there in that TD drive. Yeah. Remember I tweeted out, Fumagalli! I was so excited just to get a completion. in the game. Do you have thoughts on tight end too?
I don't. I just think there was a preset depth chart. I don't think they were fighting for a spot yet. I so I don't know. I don't think he's our tight end two right now. I personally think that it's going to come down to one of those rookie tight ends, and it looks like Willis. I want to see him play more with the twos. 88. He's been in the league for what 5 years.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of Croft a little bit.
Yeah. So he'll catch what comes straight to him. That's about it. He seems like he's a good blocker. So he may take what's the 89 spot, as our blocking tight end. I think that's where the battle comes in, but I don't think he's our tight end too. I think that's going to come down to Willis or 81. I don't know. 81 Latu has been having a dropsy, so
and a fumble yesterday,
and a fumble, which I thought was down, but he was not down.
I thought so too live, and then we watched the replay, and my dad and I were like, no.
Right. So come on. Shanahan has to give us Braden Willis. Let him get some more run. Let him get out there, catch some passes, which I think he can be really good at. As time goes on. So yeah, let us see that. I want to see Willis in there with the twos.
No doubt. So James Journal clarified. He said, watching the comeback and the quarterback show really changed my mind on Kirk. Yeah, I just like that his wife dressed him. Not that my wife dresses me, but, well, maybe. But it's important. She definitely does. So,
happy wife, happy life. Let her dress you.
Yeah, exactly. As long as she sorry. Oh man. So Jimmy Perez is agreeing. Steve-O says Cousins would be badass with us. Yeah, he's a good QB. He's good. He's got a good deep ball. And pause. But the big thing is that the guy never gets injured. Like, he's really never missed a freaking game due to injury. So compare that to Jimmy G. It's just night and day. Yeah. So even if you think that Cousins isn't quite as good as Jimmy G, that just crushes any tiebreaker, in my opinion.
Which shouldn't be the case. We should not think that Jimmy G is better than Cousins. We should.
No, I don't. But I'm just saying, if you do, because some people are like, "Oh, Cousins can't win on Monday Night Football" and all this stuff. And again, it's this QB wins mentality, where it's like, if you don't have a D, or if you don't have an O line, or if you don't have weapons, every QB needs at least decent pass protection and reliable weapons. Mm-hmm. And so that might be a good segue to talk about yesterday's game a little bit.
Let's do it.
Decent protection. Let's start with that. I tweeted something out. Warren Sharp had a list of pressure rates for the 75 QBs who played, I would say this weekend, but it was a little bit into last week, but week 1 of preseason. And there were only 5 quarterbacks out of 75. That's less than 7% that had a higher pressure rate than Trey Lance had. And people go, "Oh, well, it's O-line." And well, anyway, it's the same O-line, but and Darnold had a much lower pressure rate, but it's a different defense that he played, and we were running the ball like we had run it with Trey. Finally, there were 2 runs to start the TD drive and another one in the middle of it, and we're a run first offense, right? So if you come out passing all the time, it's not going to work very well. None of our other QBs get that kind of treatment. And if you don't run, you shouldn't run play action. And people say, "Oh, you don't have to run play action." I'm like, no, you don't have to run well to run play action. You can have ineffective runs, but you have to run the ball for people to bite on play action. And so that's a misnomer or conception, if you will. So so I think it was like 20-8 the number of passes to runs for Lance. Where it was like 8 to 9 for Darnold. I think there were more runs than passes. Right. And we had already established the run by that point. And he played a much worse defense by the Raiders in the second half than what Lance played in the first half. And so anyway, I've been arguing all day with folks about this stuff. And it gets a little tiresome. But at the same time, I'm one of these people, like, if I see something I disagree with, I'm going to argue at least for a little while. And then I'll say, hey, look, agree to disagree.
As you should. That's what that's what sports is about. Everybody's not going to agree. But hey, I happen to agree with you on this part. Trey Lance did not have a lot of time back there, and it was a lot of quick throws. So it's what I was taught with quick throws. It's pick a side, especially if the routes are mirrored. Pick a side, go with that side. If it's not, go over the ball, tuck and run. Right? It's hard to with quick routes. It's hard to look on one side and then progress all the way to the other side. And then by that time, the offensive line had already collapsed. So I don't think people understand that aspect of the game and pressure. I'm not going to say all 4 sacks was on the offensive line. There was times where Trey could have got out of the pocket, or he missed a read here and there. But I think it was a combination. It wasn't just Trey holding on to the ball. It was a couple times that I saw the offensive lineman just get pancaked, and it like had no chance or just completely missed the block. So like you said, 50% of the time being pressured will mess with a quarterback's mind, especially a young quarterback's mind who's coming off of injury. And this is his first actual live game reps, and coming off of that freak injury. So I think the offensive line, against that second, the first unit who started the game for the Raiders, not saying it's their first team, but that first unit who started the game for the Raiders completely watched the first unit that started the game for the Niners. And then the second half, you can see Darnold just had much more time back there in the pocket. It was a clean pocket. He had a lot of time to work with. And you can just see the difference just watching the game. You can see that difference.
No doubt about it. And then people say, well, Lance held the ball longer. That's why he got pressured more. And there's some truth to that. There is. But the thing is, it's like he held the ball because our weapons weren't separating. Not that they didn't ever, but when they did, he seemed to get the ball to them. So I mean, there was quite a few screenshots of the sacks that he took, and I showed Lance as his back foot hit the ground, and showed the coverages, and like some people are like, oh, the one out to the right, like, oh yeah, he should have just thrown that, or should have already been there. I'm like, his back foot just hit the ground. You can't get the ball out on an out when you can throw backpedaling. I'm not gonna say you can't, but nothing far. Right, unless you just have a cannon, and even then, I don't think you could do an out route.
And not to cut you off, but there was two that I remember that if he lets that ball go, they're interceptions.
Or pick six even.
Pick sixes to the left. There was an out route combination with the tight end with the streak route. They ended up being in cover 2, which that corner is he's waiting for Trey Lance to throw it, or it's either a pick 6 or a hospital ball, and I think it's a pick 6. And the same with the quick on the right. They were running like
Conley.
Conley. That's a pick 6,
and he was double covered,
and he's making his progression. But with quicks, like if you progress all the way to the left side of the field, you're late by that time, right? So I don't think a lot of people understand that. So I'm happy I was able to share that. Like sometimes holding that ball is good, and I think in those 2 instances, it was good.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And then people are saying, "Oh, he should have run. He should have run." I'm like, well, maybe it's a real game, or also keep in mind he's probably a little bit rusty after a year of not playing tackle football, or almost a year. I mean, it's been it'll be September. It's literally 11 months of not playing tackle football, or 10 and a half. So yeah, I mean, there were just so many that people were saying the most ridiculous things about. Should have thrown the ball. I'm like, during his backpedal, really? That's an interesting one. And they're like, well, I thought Lance was mobile. I'm like, Lance is mobile. He just. I'm not gonna say he's super quick. He's not as quick as Purdy, obviously, but he definitely has top speed. And people, and some people are like, well, not in the NFL. I'm like, well, enough in the NFL that the Seahawks spied him in that last game. That's why some of those big plays worked, like the play to Debo, the same play that he got injured on, where he didn't hand off to Ray. He did hand off to Debo. It was a big gain when Debo was almost stopped in the backfield. There was a linebacker spying Lance that wasn't involved in stopping Debo on that play. And he had 143 yards in less than a quarter, which is coming up on 600 yards in a full game. And our offense did with Lance leading it because of that 11-11 football, because his deep threat arm keeps the safety out of the box, and his running ability keeps one of the players that's in the box from being able to focus on the other weapons. So it essentially takes two defenders out of the box, which makes for a lot easier running and yakking, which are two of our big things we do.
100% agree right there. I would like yesterday. I would like for Lance to kind of make up his mind quicker. Like when he's pressured in that pocket and needs to escape. I wish he would. I don't know. I guess I'm saying be a little more athletic and getting out of that pocket and getting his eyes down the field. But yeah, I think the game initially looked worse than when I went back and looked again. Hey, he didn't have a great game. I'm not gonna fight that. I'm not gonna argue that. I'm not gonna make any excuse for him. But when you go back and look and see what caused what, he didn't have that bad of a game than I initially thought.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, he made a great throw to Conley, this laser ice rope throw, 15, 20 yards down the field. And I said immediately, I said, and I tweeted, like, Purdy can't make that throw, period. Not on his best day. And people have tried to show me film of him like against the Commanders, and it's like, Lance is just like zip, and Purdy's like,
yeah,
it's nice. The nice throw got completed, but not as deep, not as much zip on it, just not the same throw. And also the way it was up here, and the Purdy throw was down on the ground, and they both ended up falling down. But anyway, bottom line is, Lance, yeah, there was some stuff to like when he started to click. He started to get momentum. That throw to Fumagalli. I mean, honestly, the throw to Mason was super heartbreaking. Where people are like, "Oh, Trey Lance doesn't have touch to throw short."
No,
he throws with touch short to Mason, and I would say he dropped it. But he just turned his head before the ball got
really before he caught field. That had nothing to do with touch, and it was heartbreaking because it stopped a good drive. That could have been three decent drives for Trey to end the game. But Mason, he took his eyes off the ball, and the play stalled. So wish he would.
There's a great video edit that this guy Prime put together, where it's Lance throwing to Mason, and then rather than showing where Mason drops it, it cuts to Purdy completing to CMC against the Raiders last year. And CMC going for all kinds of yak and bouncing off people up the field. And I was just like, oh, it's so
different players.
Because so many people like to try to tell me, oh, why does Lance need CMC to be good? I'm like, he doesn't need him to be good. He needs him to have a fair comparison between Purdy and Lance. So Purdy had CMC, he had Kittle, he had Debo, and he had Ayuk. And, Lance didn't have CMC at all, and he barely had Kittle. And when he had Kittle, it looked actually really good. He actually had a 124 passer rating when Kittle was on the field.
Right.
So there's a lot of reason to think, like, if we give this guy a decent O-line and we give this guy the real deal weapons, like ultimately we can't write him off until we've seen him struggle with all that is sort of what I'm trying to say, especially with the new mechanics. He clearly has better accuracy, he has better touch, and he has a quicker release than we've ever seen before. And that was all very clear yesterday, in my opinion, but I'd love to see if you thought so too.
No, I agree. Really, what I saw in practice was him making all the throws and I wanted to see it in the game. So I saw a few plays in the game, not enough to where I'm like, okay, let's get him more reps with the ones. You see what I mean? Like, this is why we need him to compete with Purdy for that number one spot. But I think it, like you said, I think it was because we couldn't see it. The O-line was a problem. It was tough. But he pressured, like you said, 50% of the time. That is a lot of pressure right there. So I did see him make some like 2 or 3 big boy throws. We also seen two bad throws, which hey, he was trying to make a play. It's preseason. He knew he only has one more quarter to make up for, those first 3 drives. You make a play, and I'm not mad at it, but again, you can't practice interception. So, clean that up, come on, next preseason game, and hopefully the O-line can can better protect, and he can actually show us the progression that he's made, that he was showing in practice. It's just got to show it in some preseason games now.
There you go. Got Ryan from No Border Sports in the house. He is a great content creator. He's also very giving. I mentioned a lot of help that's been given. He helped me a lot to help work on better titles and better thumbnails for shows and things like that. So, really great that he figured it out, and then even more that he shared that knowledge. So thanks, and obviously great shows as well too. Real quick, somebody was saying Bell, not a great receiver, drops a lot. I mean, he definitely had a nice run on that end around. He had a real nice run and kind of looked like, Debo or Jennings getting on that yak. Those a lot of extra contact and really running like a raging bull a little bit, kind of Kittle too. But yeah, the interception by Brandon Allen should have been a catch by Ronnie Bell. So Lance had an interception that ended up being a TD, and Brandon Allen had a catch that ended up being should have been an interception that ended up a TD, and Brandon Allen had a catch that ended up as an interception, sadly. But I thought Ronnie Bell had a good game. I was happy with his performance.
Yeah, same. I mean, same here. So what I got from his performance is he can hold it down as a returner for Ray McLeod while he's out to start the season, and he's a tough player. He runs hard, which translate he can block. He does have to catch those gimmies, but he's somebody that can come in, a few plays throughout the game and hopefully not have a drop off. So when Ray McLeod is out for those 4 weeks, I think he can come in and kind of not be what Ray McLeod is, but kind of not miss a beat. So I was pretty impressed with how Ronnie Bell did yesterday, but outside of the drop.
There you go. Randy said, serious question. Do you think that the Niners owners or coaches staff are racist towards Trey? Are they trying to sabotage him? So I'll answer this first. I'll say I don't think they're racist, or they wouldn't have picked him. But I do think that Kyle is trying to sabotage Lance because he wants to install Purdy and he doesn't want a lot of drama. A lot of people think, oh, you should have started Lance. So just the fact that Lance has had literally one series with CMC, and it was on a Saturday, Purdy missed 2 or 3 practices, and the first 2 CMC missed. The last one, or I guess, no, there was one where CMC missed where Purdy played. So Purdy missed 2, and the second one that Purdy missed, CMC had already had his rest day and played with the one some when Lance was with the one some. It was only one series, though, and it was only in practice. So I just feel like this whole thing of not running the ball with when Trey Lance was there, I think that was sabotaging him. Absolutely. There's no, that the second team O-line is no good. I mean, I tweeted it out a million times during camp that our D is much deeper than our O-line or our weapons. And so, I would say probably same thing for the Raiders D, which seems to be improved from last year, where they were garbage last year. They did really well in the joint practices against all our QBs. I mean, was that a fair thing to say from you being there?
100%. I tweeted this out. Both sides. So mainly the defense. They got the best of the first offense. They got the best of the second offense, and so on and so forth. And that was through both practices. So yes, I think they're improved. They're definitely. They showed on Sunday that they're deeper than us. They're deeper. I don't know about their top end weapons. When we're all together, Debo and Ayuk and CMC, Kittle, when Bosa signs his, league leading massive deal. I just think they're not on the same level, but they are deeper than us. Their backups are better than ours. So, that's a concern if you want to think that. But as a whole team, as a unit, when our starters are back, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
No doubt. And if you have somebody there, feel free to grab it. I can cover while you're gone if need be. I mean, ultimately, I tweeted out today. I said, Operation Prop Up Purdy is in full effect because I really feel like that's what Kyle's trying to do. I really feel like it should be a competition that Lance should be allowed to go with the ones just to see how we've never seen him with some of these guys. And we definitely haven't seen him since the new mechanics. And we haven't seen him. The other part is people go, well, Purdy, he's so good last year. Well, Purdy's been injured and he hasn't been the same. So all the more reason to put these two together and see how it comes out. But Kyle is not doing it, just like he didn't give Purdy any reps last offseason. So I think he made a mistake with that last. I mean, imagine this, folks. Imagine Jimmy G never got injured last year. We would never know what we have in Brock Purdy. We'd probably still have Jimmy G here and Purdy and Lance as his backups.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. And then James Renault is saying, I think the O-line is more of a problem than Trey. How can we fix it? Well, the backup O-line is a huge problem. If anybody gets injured on our O-line, it's a huge problem. Our starting O-line is pretty good. It was pretty good last year. I think Burford's probably improved by adding. We heard he added muscle. You got the sort of the NFL man body going, and I think McKivitz will be okay. I think he'll be probably a little better than McGlinchey in pass blocking. It's just the run blocking that concerns me. But and health, he sprained his MCL against the Rams week 4 last year. But I don't think the O-line will be a problem during the season, or not a big problem. But yeah, again, like you said, that's like we have so many stars that were out. Look at our whole defense, right? No Bosa because he's not signed. No Hargrave. No Armstead. No Dre Greenlaw. No Fred Warner. No Hufanga. No Gibson. No Lenore. No Charvarius Ward. Like anybody who's not worried about our D or our offense, like without those weapons, it's a huge drop off between like you go CMC, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk. And even to like Jennings and even Juice, it's a huge drop off.
Huge drop off.
Yeah.
And the only player that I'm concerned about who had a pretty rough game is Isaiah Oliver. I don't know what was going on there. If it was just a super vanilla defense or whatever, but it
could be just lack of pressure because of not having all those dudes, right?
Yeah, that too. I mean that's going to make it 100 times easier for all of our DBs. Our front seven, come on, we have one of the best front sevens in the NFL. So, I guess, he's the only player on defense that I would say, like, oh, my goodness, CG, my guy.
What's up, CG? Welcome. He's back to CG Ruthless. He was CG Sports Talk for a minute. He kind of rebranded. Looks like he's back to CG Ruthless. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Right.
Sorry, you're in the middle of something.
I just Isaiah Oliver, but like you said, our front seven is crazy good, and it's going to make any DB look better than what they are. So
yeah,
he's the only one I'm concerned about. But at the end of the day, I'm not too concerned. Let's get this first unit together, and get those front 4 guys, Armstead, Bosa, Hargraves, and whoever Drake Jackson, and let them go, and it's going to be a totally new defense.
Yeah, I have no doubts when it comes to Isaiah Oliver that he will be a step down from Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward is an absolute stud. He's an enforcer. He had like 3 interceptions in like barely over half a season last year. The guy is a total stud. But I do think Isaiah Oliver could be a better value since he's so much cheaper. I think you always say you don't have to be better to be a better value in a hard cap league. So I think that's easily possible, and maybe he'll surprise us and be better overall. But I'd just say, a step down, but not as much as the step down in pay, which would still be good news for us. So Ryan says he doesn't think they're racist, just dumb.
Oh yeah, and I didn't get to answer that. No, I don't think so either. I don't see it at all. Like you said, if they wouldn't have drafted him 3rd overall, I just think their plan for him is not what they expected, and they're trying to, I don't know, they're trying to overcome it in some way.
I have some thoughts on it. I mean, I think a lot of it is how Purdy played last season. And I think they're just automatically assuming that because the doctor said he could be ready week 1, that he'll be ready, not just ready to play, but ready to play like 2022. And those are both leaps. He may never be the same again. He may never be the same as he was in 22. And it just may not happen by week 1. It may take more into the season. So I think that's part of what they're thinking. I think also there's a little Kyle ego thing going on too as well, where Lance went to go see Jeff Christensen, and And Mahomes, that's not something that Kyle set up. In fact, Kyle apparently now it's come out, poo-pooed Quincy Avery and said, oh, go to, I don't know if it's Jeff Beck or Rod Beck, whoever the Beck was, who did nothing, who helped, didn't change Trey's mechanics a lick in 2 years. And so I think Kyle, his massive ego, he doesn't want anything good to happen that wasn't his idea. He didn't suggest. And so I think there's a little bit of that too. But I think it's mostly the first part, that they just think Purdy will be back. And so if he is, he'll be better. But I'm not even sure that 2022 Purdy is as good as Lance could be by week 1. I think Lance could be, clearly he wasn't yesterday, but with the real O-line and with the real weapons and the real D, so you're not under so much pressure to produce where you can go 3 and out and punt and it's no big deal because your D is going to hold them to 12 points a game. Yeah, definitely. It changes everything for a quarterback. So it's, context is important, I would say.
Yeah. Injuries.
Here's a guy with a 40-yard kick.
Injuries. The nature of injuries are just, you never know if a player is going to come back and be the same player. That's
not serious. Yeah. Yeah. If it's ACL, Achilles, patellar tendon, or quad tendon, for sure, and it just can lead to other injuries. UCL, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's so little data. That's the thing. It's like, Nick Mullins is the only NFL QB to ever have this. He didn't play. He didn't start an NFL game, a regular season NFL game, for a full calendar year. It was December 20th, 2020 to December 20th, 2021. He was bad, 147 yards, 1 TD, and a loss by the Browns to the Raiders, oddly enough, with just playing the Raiders this last weekend. But, and then he's played some mop-up duty since, but he hasn't been in a start. He hasn't had a meaningful start in a meaningful game since then. And it's been 2.5 years. It's hard to say that he's even 100% now. We can't really prove it, if you ask me.
Right. You never know. 22. It was 22. Number 22, the returner from Alabama, I believe.
Or Texas, Jameson?
Texas. Yeah. I loved his patience back there. And he looks like a natural. He looked like a natural returning the ball. So, hey, Ronnie Bell may have some competition.
There you go. CG said Trey did okay. It was a slow start. He has to throw quick. Yeah, there was not a lot of time, and then when there was a lot of time, there wasn't a lot of separation. And when there was separation, I think he made some good throws. There was a one near pick where he had time and looked like maybe there was some separation, and he threw the near pick. That was bad, but the rest, I'm not that worried about the rest of it, especially when he's super young, super raw, and super rusty. I just feel like there's so much room for growth, and I think he will. He's a hard worker. He's smart. He has the right attitude. I guess my only concern with Lance is, we say he's humble and he's a nice guy. Is he too humble, right? Does he have that killer edge that I think you really need to be an elite quarterback, that sort of tear your heart out of your chest and hold it up in front of your face while it's still beating type of mentality, right? I don't know about that. Mm-hmm. I think everything else, is all pointing up. And can he stay healthy? Any of our quarterbacks, can they stay healthy? None of our 4 quarterbacks has played a full NFL season, so that's injuries are a concern for all our quarterbacks to me.
Right.
Ryan says, "Wait, Ted. If Kyle wanted to be sabotaged, he would have ran him or kept him in the pocket. If he did what he's calling as far as passing scheme with Trey." There's a part of me that thinks that everybody goes, "Oh well, Ted, it doesn't matter what you say on here." And Twitter, whatever, or X, whatever they're calling it these days. But I know for a fact, if I say something, Josh, and you say something, and Crocky and Grant, and, we get everybody talking, and all our people that listen to us all start saying the same things. Bet your butt Kyle hears it, because all you have to do is listen to his, speech to Moody when he was like, "Oh, aren't you glad we didn't pick a 3rd-round running back?" That's purely off Twitter. So he definitely listens. And so, there's a thought that I had that maybe he wasn't sabotaging. He's just letting Lance throw because he wants to see him throw from the pocket more and all that. I guess, but just our offense is run first. Mm-hmm. And like I said, play action doesn't work. Run fake doesn't work without running first. Yeah. There's a chance, Ryan, I guess. You're probably not a tinfoil hat guy like this that thinks sabotage. I said, or I think I told you, I tweeted, something like, the prop up Purdy is in full effect or high gear.
His first 3 series weren't like there was barely any like getting out of the pocket. It was all straight back, drop back. So he didn't start changing things up until the first play was a jet sweep to Ronnie Bell, and then that's when the play calling got into rhythm.
And
The
then a
Raiders,
run to TVP, right?
yeah, they were running the ball. The Raiders were doing a much better job of controlling the game and run left, run right, play action, drop back, just mixing it up. We were more so those first three drives just drop back, quicks. So
There you go. There you go. Randy says nobody got hurt. I'd say we won the Raider game as far as Oliver. Remember Huff's first few games. Yeah. It's just Huff didn't really start
he
week
was a
one.
rookie. Yeah.
Yeah, he played like a few weeks towards the end. He started maybe, or even then it was more like packages, like 3 safety packages with Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Drop Tart, I call him.
And Oliver's a vet who was
I'll
playing.
always be known as that. It's sad.
Yeah, that was tough. I was there. I was at that game. It hurt.
Oh, man. Down at Levi's South, huh?
Yeah, down at Levi South. So
That's the easy drive from Vegas. I guess what, about 4 hours?
Yeah, it was 3.5. Because SoFi is a lot closer to Vegas than going deeper into LA. So
That's right. It's in Inglewood.
Inglewood, yeah. So 3.5, closer to like 3.5.
Nice. So just real quick though, Randy, Oren Burks got injured. He injured his PCL, but it sounds like it's just a sprain, and he should be back week 1. So nothing major, but I would say we can't quite say nobody got hurt. And there might be, how it is with injuries too. Like a lot of times we'll hear something on a Monday or Tuesday when they go back to practice, things will leak out. So fingers crossed that that's all it is. Yeah. And that's probably the biggest thing of preseason is you get to see some things you like, work on figuring out what your depth chart's going to be and keep everybody healthy. The score doesn't matter. I titled this game Raiders win their Super Bowl versus 49ers because the Raiders have mattered. Like they know this is one of their few wins they're going to get this season. Compared to us, like we're Super Bowl favorites, and I think with good reason to be, at least top 5 to win the Super Bowl.
For sure.
James said we used to have great depth pretty much everywhere. Are these big contracts catching up with us?
Eventually, I don't know. I don't know yet.
This feels like the Rams right before a couple of years running. I was saying this about the Rams the last 2-3 years before they won the Super Bowl, which was like so top heavy. They got all these stars and then a bunch of guys. Yeah. And back then we had a lot of mid-level guys, and now like Jimmy Ward, a perfect example. Jimmy Ward is a perfect example of a mid-level guy that we don't have anymore. He's not a top safety. But, $7-8 mil is a lot for a safety. And so now we got, guys like Gibson and Huff on a rookie deal. So, they're catching up to us. But, we're retaining really top talent that we drafted. So it's not like you're going to let Bosa walk. There's always a magic number. Do you have a magic number for Bosa, Josh? Like above X? Like
I would. So my magic number is for whatever he wants. Sign it and get the deal done because
even if it's 40 mil a year, 40 mil a year.
Get the deal done. We need Bosa, but on a serious note, just above what Aaron Donald or right below, I don't know, whatever he wants. If he wants to be above, put him a little bit above
32, 33 mil.
Yeah, there. As far as like changing the whole market, come on, you gotta understand the team aspects, but I'll never count anybody else's pockets. So
do you see Steph Sanchez's video? She does great Bosa impersonation.
Oh yeah. I had a chance to
like
her show as well.
I get more than Joey, right? That's classic.
She's funny. I like her.
That's really, that's what it all comes down to. It's bragging rights in the Bosa household.
Right. Get him above Joey, which he deserves anyway.
He'll just stay. He's like, hey, I already made millions. I don't need to go. Randy says, James, what was that on our team? Oh, great depth. Yeah, no, our team used to be deep. It's not anymore. No. Womack was shining. Yeah, Womack's been playing really well. It sounds like I know he played well in camp. And sounds like he played well in the joint practices too. Did you have thoughts on that, Josh?
Yeah, he played. From what I seen, I wasn't too focused on the DBs and stuff, but from what I seen, he played decent. I would like to see him get another shot at the nickel. I liked him at nickel to start last year, so I would like to see him again get some nickel work, just in case 2026 Oliver doesn't pan out and he's not a good free agent signing, even though he's cheap. We got a younger dude in there who can possibly be an upgrade. So I would like to see him get some nickel work. Womack.
There you go. CG was saying that Womack should stay in the nickel.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you meant your okay. All right. Stay out of that one. He needs more reps. He took accountability. Yeah, he's a great leader for sure. He and Purdy are both great leaders. I'd give Purdy the edge just because I know Purdy walked into the huddle and told Trent Williams what's what. Like, you got to have your SHI, together to SHI together. I like that. To tell Trent Williams what's what, or Kittle or Debo or any of those big leaders, the Cabo crew, clique, core, whatever you want to call it, the fraternity. I think some people have called it. So
Purdy does have that dog in him. I'll give him that. He's a walk in there, and he has a certain confidence to himself. So I'll definitely say that about Purdy.
There you go. Randy said Trey was fine. He just needs time. Hell, I rhymed. Somebody give me a dime. Did I rap? Randy with the bars. There you go. I just need a little backbeat. Ryan can get us a backbeat. He's got an audience member, a frequent member named Jeff, who writes a lot of raps. I just heard the one he did about me. I was kind of pissed because the one he did for Terradome was a lot better. And Terradome and I had some big beef on East Coast Red and Gold, talking about Lance and Purdy. And really, it came down to the ESPN depth chart where they listed Lance number 3, and I was like, "That's crock. That's bull."
Yeah,
I was like, "They're the same ones who said we picked Mac Jones at number 3. Like, ESPN is not to be trusted
at all.
At all. No, this guy. Even now, they're all jumping on the Trey bandwagon. Meanwhile, it sounds like Kyle was pretty happy with Trey today in the presser. I didn't see it myself, but everything I'm seeing, Kyle even said like he liked that Lance threw the TD, even though it was almost intercepted. He's like, he liked that he went for it. So, especially with a guy in his face, like, that's much more acceptable with a guy in your face than the second one where it was like a clean pocket and he threw one off the DB's hands. That's a little scary. But still, if you have one of those a game,
I mean, he has the arm strength to make those throws. So I'm not mad at it. Don't make it a habit. But if we start seeing those go in, I'm not gonna be mad at it.
Yeah. Ryan here says Kyle wants his scheme to be the star. That's my fear, is that he doesn't even want a peak Trey Lance. He doesn't want Brady. He doesn't want Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't want Mahomes. He wants not to share the spotlight. He wants a mid-robot who does what they're told. And it's starting to get hard to argue that that's not the case, especially if he never gives Trey Lance a fair shot here. It scares me to death.
I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it, him wanting Nick Mullins to be the guy, him signing Brian Hoyer before taking a look at Pat Mahomes and those guys. And that
was the last time I went to training camp, was 2017.
So we've seen what type of guy he wants, and it's somebody that can run the offense. And I would say dink and dunk. None of those guys are throwing bombs or making these crazy throws. So yeah, I think we've seen it, and he's shown his cards. So we just gotta respect it. I thought he was gonna change when he went the route of drafting Trey Lance, but he hasn't really shown us he's changed.
Not at all. Not at all. Come on, Kyle. We're Shanna fans. Right. We don't want you fired. We just want you to learn from your mistakes and get us a real franchise QB. Because if we get one, if Lance hits his ceiling or even comes close, we're going to be dog walking everybody, including the Chiefs.
Everybody.
Patrick Mahomes, I don't care. He does not have the roster around him that we do. If you could play 3/4 as well or half as well as Patrick Mahomes, we could smoke the Chiefs.
Yep. Big Shanahan fan, though. Big Shanahan fan.
Yeah, me too. Big Shanahan fan, for sure. So
I don't see him leaving anytime soon. Which would be crazy.
I hope not. I hope not. I don't want anybody else, and I don't want Jed. Oh God, the Jed stuff scared me too. That the insider trading.
Oh yeah, I didn't read up on that. What's the?
He basically he was invested in this company called Chegg, which is an online learning. It used to be a book company, now it's just called Online Learning. Mm-hmm. And basically, this company during the downturn was feeding answers to kids taking tests so they could essentially cheat on tests. In COVID, they took their tests from home. And so the stock went bananas when everybody was using it. And then they went back to school and they couldn't use it anymore. And it just dropped off like a hot potato. And Jed sold at the peak and made 120,000 shares. No, it was only $1.4 million. And I was like, man, you just risked billions to make a million, under 2 million.
That's
I don't think it's going to come. It doesn't sound like it's going to be that serious, but it's just a bad look. It's a black eye, especially after everything with Eddie D. But I hear family there. I want to make sure you're good on time still.
Yeah, I'm still good. The little one just woke up. My wife's downstairs though, so I'm still good. We're rocking and rolling.
Okay, well, just let me know if you run out. It's fine. We're over an hour, but just want to get to this. James Arnold said, "What did you think of the DBs? Ambry Thomas was awesome, but Womack got burned twice." Ambry was awesome, and I'll tell you, that's one thing I did not see at camp. I think he had one PBU at camp, but basically he was burnt toast at camp. And I even posted because people would say, "Oh, well, Brock's going against the ones at camp and Trey's not." I'm like, well, yeah, Brock is, but most of his completions were against Ambry and AJ Parker, and Ambry got scorched by everybody in camp. Right. So I was like, these two guys are closer to off the team than first team. But I'll tell you what, Ambry looked like first team yesterday. So again, I'm not calling Darnold 6 Cent Sammy anymore. I'm not going to call Ambry Thomas burnt toast unless I see it again. I keep hoping for the guy, 3rd round pick, a man coverage. I always felt like man with Wilkes. He's blitzing. You need people to do man on the back end. I always felt like that was a natural fit for Ambry, and so I hope he pulls it together for him. Oh, and that would be a 3rd round pick. We were just talking about how we don't have any 3rd round picks besides Fred. Like that would be a great one. So Ambry, keep going, and I wouldn't worry about Womack. Again, it's all this time that they killed us in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
Oh yeah, it was not even close how they were doing us on both sides of the trenches. What's our 1st round pick a few years ago at the tackle, Ken Law was just getting washed out still by backup linemen. I couldn't even see or evaluate the linebackers because our D line was just getting pushed back and washed. So I don't even know what we have in our backup linebackers.
And Warren Burks got injured pretty first half, I think. So yeah, that's part of it.
And then as far as Ambry, he played well. He played well. He was one of my guys who I was over as well. But he proved me wrong. And I only seen the 2 practices, so I don't know what went on in Santa Clara. But in the game, he did pretty good. He held his own.
He did.
Yeah, and so I'm not too worried about that.
And Randy's saying the same thing. Ambry impressed, but I'm still worried. That's exactly how I feel. He had said it, I think, before. Oh, obviously, this is 3:55, so that was 15 minutes ago. So yeah, he is the same thing I was saying, basically.
Yeah,
that's cool. And then Ryan from November Sports, thanks for bringing it up. Somebody had mentioned Moody earlier. I kind of don't want to bring it up so early in the show, but give me your thoughts on Moody, and then remind me of a Brian Peacock story from when he came on.
So Moody, I mean, the leg is there, but so the first one, I was hearing that he was missing those type of kicks throughout camp, those close like 40 yarders, but was making the longer ones, the 50+ ones. But he was way off on the 50+ yarder. So I don't know if it's to be concerned. It's his first game, but you expect a 3rd round kicker to at least get close, to the field goal post, or at least make that closer one. So next game he has to prove himself. So I'm not concerned yet. Not concerned yet.
There you go. So I'll circle back to that, Ryan. Regarding Moody, obviously it sucks that he missed one left and then he overcorrected and missed one right. I'm not too worried about it. It's preseason. It just sucks because he was so good in camp. I think he maybe only missed 1 field goal in camp or 2, and he made so many big ones, deep ones up to like 60, 63 yards, 65 yards, something like that. So I'm not real worried about it, but I'll share a story. I had Brian Peacock on the show a while back, and he said, Ted, kickers are like reverse running backs. And I was like, what? he said, yeah, if you think about all the best kickers in their heyday, like they're all in their like mid to late 30s, like Gostkowski and Vinatieri and all even like look at Sebastian Janikowski, how long it took him to get good,
Right.
who was a highly drafted kicker, because he had some issues early on too. So he's just like, yeah, running backs, they come out quick and they burn out fast, and you almost never sign them to a second deal. Mm-hmm. Kickers, a lot of times it takes 10, 12 years before they really hit their peak. So we may have to be patient with Moody. That's maybe why we signed Zane Gonzalez. Maybe we're going to carry 2 kickers potentially, which would be terrible for the 53 man, but might be good for a long term. I mean, you can't cut a third round.
Can't cut Moody at all.
No. So you're either going to suffer with them for a year or carry an extra kicker if it persists, and it probably even won't. So that's sort of my thought, but yeah, hopefully it won't. We'll see. Real quick, got Gamers Sports Cards, Raider fan of the house. Laughing my ass off. Raiders are better than the butt 49ers. You all showed you have zero depth at any position. That's just not true. It's just we just have tons of superstars, and y'all have a handful. We probably have 10 that are as good as your 3.
They have 3.
I mean, geez, both the Smokes, Max Crosby. They don't have a Hargrave. They don't have a Fred. They don't have a Dre. They don't have. I guess Peters is a decent cornerback. Yeah, they don't have Huff. They don't have Gibson. They don't have Debo. Oh, they have Tay and Debo. I give Tay the edge
for sure. Yeah,
they don't have Kittle. Yeah. They got Hooper, he's good. I heard Hooper was pretty good in the practices.
Yeah, he had what I seen. He had a couple of nice catches. I know he had a touchdown catch from Jimmy when I saw. They were driving it up and down the field, so he had to do pretty good. So.
Yeah. And then they got Josh Jacobs, but Josh is saying he won't play on the franchise tag. So good luck with that, Raider Nation. You guys are in deep trouble if that happens. So Ryan was saying Womack and Quantrez Knight were trying to tattoo people yesterday. Gotta like that, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Womack got burned twice since the first round. Second, he dropped. Okay. Too early faithful Oliver won't look like that in 4 weeks. He'll be fine by week 8. Okay. Well, I think that's when we usually take off, right? 2021 3-5, 2022 3-4.
Oh yeah.
But we didn't start with CMC in any of those seasons or Hargrave.
What is with these past years the slow starts, and it's not like we just
some of it's O-line shuffle.
Yeah.
Some of it was not having CMC last year. That was a big one.
Yeah.
Some of it was like injuries. Like in 2021, we lost Mostert, and the big one was Emmanuel Mosley early in the season.
Detroit game.
Yeah. And then we had like Josh Norman as our better corner. Then when he got hurt, it was like Drake Kirkpatrick, and it was like
that was tough.
Lenore came in and he was terrible as a rookie. Mm-hmm. He got absolutely scorched against Green Bay, 2 TDs, and he gave up the last catch that Mason Crosby made that winning field goal. That was against Lenore. So he also got beat in the Eagles game before that, like the big one to the fast guy that
Devontae
tracked down, and we ended up keeping him from scoring.
They didn't score.
They did the Philly special, but yeah, it was Lenore who got burned by. I'm sorry, you were saying his name.
It starts with a Q, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget his name, but he's a speedster.
I'm blanking on it too. So Randy's saying 3-5.
That got him. Tart's the one that caught him.
Quez Watkins.
Quez Watkins. There it goes. Quez Watkins.
Yeah. Thank you for the cue. That made it.
Yeah.
We're a good team. I don't think we're going to do that well. Week 4 or 5, Steve Wilkes is still. I mean,
I'm not worried.
I'm not worried. You got Bosa and Hargrave up there, and I think Drake Jackson's going to do well. Eric Armstead is so underrated. But remember, he missed the first half of everything. Like, how come the defense got 2.4 interceptions for Brock and 1.2 for Jimmy? It's because Eric Armstead and Jimmy Ward came back, folks. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Ward came back, he had a freaking club on his hand.
And he was still balling and covering up people.
Yeah, then when they started playing well, the defense was just like lights out.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the defense at all.
Gamer never learned to read. Oh, so that brings up something, a little joke. Well, real quick, to say to Dave McNiner, he's another great content creator. He's just launched his own channel. Wonderful guy, outstanding shows. What's the difference between a 49ers fan and a Raiders fan?
I don't know.
49er fans like the outside of jail cells.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
It is, but you know they had a jail cell built into the Oakland Coliseum. They're in the old net at the Philly, where the two stadiums in the whole NFL that had built-in jail. They had so many arrests. They're like, let's just build a holding cell there. To help control these Looney Tunes. So you can see it with the Philly fans. God, they're awful. McNuevo, that's taken off. So McNiner's name is McNew, but now we're calling him McNuevo. So that's taken off. Gotta love to see that. Purdy Files, want to see Trey gone, King Skeezy quote. Yeah, Skeezy's been a big crusader like me out there doing the spaces with Roscoe's and that other guy who does it, that terrible host. I'm not going to mention his name because he said something about
why they want him going so bad.
Last time I was in, Treyway or whatever, Trey Betts, whatever he's calling himself these days. Yeah. Guy's a hack. Anyway, no, I mean, they all do great stuff. I shouldn't be, that's a different kind of content creation, so I need to support them. It's just he and I have a little beef. It's nothing serious. But
what was that? Which one?
Treyway.
Oh, okay. I think I met them in the spaces. I met so many people this past week. So
yeah. The CG says the Purdy Files want Trey gone. Oh, so yeah, I also heard a funny one. They were calling them perverts. I like that one because they call us Trey sexual. So I'm like, pervert kind of fits. I like that.
It's crazy.
So yeah, Randy, they're saying hi. Takes everyone a few games. These teams play fairly well. Early very often finish last. Yeah, that's true. If it's going to be early or late, and you can't have both, you definitely want to finish strong late, rolling in the playoffs. I always say better roll in the playoffs healthy, rested, and hot than with a higher seed and banged up, tired, and maybe not playing your best ball. Sure. But early in the season, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they got J.J. Watt. Mm-hmm. Not TJ Watt. Even worse. TJ Watt. They got Alex Highsmith, and obviously they have. I'm blanking on their safety's name who came over from the Dolphins. Minka. He's outstanding, but really it's those two edges that scare me because we got McKivitz making his first ever start at right tackle, and in camp I'll tell you he started out well, but towards the end he was fading, and TJ Watt's, I would say every bit as good as Bosa. He's not quite, but he's definitely in the conversation with Bosa of top edges in the league, top three. Him, Myles Garrett. You could throw Mike in there, but Mike is not a dedicated edge, so I have trouble comparing him to the other three. But Mike is a phenomenal player, faster, more versatile than any of the other three. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not knocking Micah. I'm just saying not the edge that those other guys are. But I think he's just not good enough against a run to be like with the others. I guess we'll see. I think he's going to play more this year, so we'll see. But it just scares the dickens out of me that in his first ever NFL start, McKivitz is going to be going against one of those cats pretty much every down. You can assume,
probably TJ.
They're both resting on a play.
Probably TJ. I can see TJ picking on him. Hopefully it's not the case, and hopefully Shanahan gives him some type of help. He'll definitely be ready for it to give McKivitz some help. He's not going to leave him on the island with either one of those dudes. But yeah, hopefully Shanahan's ready for it because that could ruin a game quick.
Well, hopefully Latu can figure out his catching, because clearly he's a good blocker and he runs great routes. He definitely gets separation. And so we talked about tight ends earlier, and I didn't really chime in on that. But what I saw in camp was Braden Willis made a lot of catches. There was one practice where he had 4 catches, another one where he had 4 targets. Definitely the best hands of all of our tight ends, and seems to get open fairly well. But Latu, the better route runner, better blocker. And then Fumagalli, I didn't think much of from camp, to be honest. And then, Warner, I think he had 1 catch in camp, and he wasn't targeted much. And Dwelly had some uncharacteristic drops in camp, and he's been known as like the guy who never drops anything in games. So that's still intact, but the practice side is definitely not. So I mean, I think Braden Willis might win it if he can show that he can block a little bit better. I think he could be our tight end too. Someone was asking about that earlier. That's my pick, just from the catching perspective. But I bet knowing how important the blocking is, it might be Latu, and they might just figure he's better than Warner, because Warner, he may have better hands. Warner, not much, but he doesn't get any separation.
Yeah, more just a blocking tight end.
The upside's there. Gamer must be a Raiders fan. I think the jail would have gotten it. Mean. Looking forward to, but I was mean too, so good. Be mean. Looking forward to meeting Josh at SoFi Stadium. Outstanding. You guys are going week 2, huh?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Nice. That should be, I'm not going to say easy W, but come on. I think we're going to sweep them for the 5th season in a row. I've been telling them, they're like, oh, let's run it back last year. I'm like, no, you guys got it a year early. You're going to run back 5-12 this year.
Right.
Because they got Aaron Donald and nobody on that deep. Oh, wait, they just signed somebody, though, didn't they?
They signed back.
The safety, right?
Yep, they signed him back, which, okay, he's good. Don't get me wrong. He's pretty good, but
he's good.
I don't think it's going to be a game changer.
They're starting to get some of these mid-level players now. We switched roles with the Rams. Yeah, but they're not going to be good. And they're like, oh, Stetson Bennett's doing so great in camp. I'm like, it's because your defense sucks. Come on. Jesus, criminy.
Right.
Unbelievable. And then whoever they played this last weekend has a terrible D, too. So I'm like, I'm not putting any weight in Stetson Bennett. Right. I call him Drunk Purdy because everybody wants to get their next Brock Purdy. And he's kind of like the same idea, except for old and alcohol issues. So he's like 27 or something like that.
Which one?
He's older than most 3rd and 4th year guys.
O'Connell.
Well, no. Stetson Bennett for the Rams.
Yeah. He's 26, I think, 25, 26. 25. Yeah, he got to be 25. He had a nice throw though, but he's old.
I think he's 26, man.
26?
I think so.
Oh,
that's
man.
Crazy.
He better come in ready.
Yeah, exactly. What was long and hard on Stetson Bennett in the 5th grade? 5 times. All right. So they teach keystring one. I'm going to see that one. I think there's something about that GED comment.
All right.
All right. Perverts are saying that Trey played horrible. I think he did good O-line that Jerry Jones could rush through.
He did okay. I wouldn't say he did good. He did okay.
Yeah, I mean, he did bad, but there's good reasons for it.
Yeah.
O-line and the weapons and the lack of running.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this team is built to run the ball first and foremost and play action. Mm-hmm. And some from the pocket, but that's only if you get into 3rd and long when they know you're going to throw. The rest should not be thrown from the pocket and first down, in my opinion.
He actually looks more comfortable on 3rd and long. It was crazy in that game. He just looked comfortable on 3rd and long and has some.
He knows he can heave it.
Yeah, use that arm.
James Journal says blank check boasts that he and Fred are the heart of the team. Well, we definitely paid Fred $19 million a year, so
yeah,
or 18.5 or it was a lot, whatever it was. I think. Maybe the guy from the Colts, poor guy with his back. He changed his name too, which was kind of strange. To Shaq. Blanking on his name too. So it was fine for game 1. Bosa deal is just doesn't want to show up at camp. Signed yet? Yeah, I mean there's some people who have said that that the numbers are in place and they're just not. They just don't want him to get injured, so they're. And they know he can stay in shape on his own, and so they just haven't announced it yet, or haven't actually signed it, but the numbers are in place. I could see that potentially.
I can see that. There's no way they're not going to get it done.
No. As long as both is somewhat reasonable, which I think you will. Yeah. He sort of hinted at that, that he said he didn't have to be the highest paid guy. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of it comes down to we all obsess on the average annual, but we all know the players obsessed on that guaranteed. So
Guaranteed, right?
that could be where it's coming in, where it's like, oh, I'll take 30 mil, but 125 guaranteed, or like that.
Big
So
bucks,
we're still waiting for Trey. Well, James, yes, that's what the haters say. But year one was a redshirt season. Year two, he was injured, and year three starts in September. So hasn't been 3 years. It's been under 5 games. So he has had 2 full off seasons and now almost a half of another off season. So it's a little more than that, but realistically, regular season games less than 5. So we are still waiting for him. I mean, I still say he's TBD, and that's kind compared to what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people are saying bust.
We're still waiting for Sam Darnold too. I mean, he's had 5 years.
55 starts later.
Yeah, I don't.
Ryan says Trey needs more reps. Exactly, exactly it. But you can't give him reps. Remove the growing pains from championship team. I don't blame them. So James, this championship team, how many championships have we won?
0.
And what's held us back?
Quarterback play, easily. If you ask me.
Yeah, me too. That's exactly what I say. So when you say championship team, I'm like, no. You're a championship team once you win a championship, and then you're going to win more. Till then, we're a contender. I'll give us a contender. NFC championship game, you're a solid contender. But we're not a championship team. Kyle is a micromanage. He's a control freak. It's not working. It's the QB part isn't, but the rest sure is. I mean, we got a killer roster. And if he could just let Lance play. Good God, man, give Lance a chance.
Just look at those Super Bowl quarterbacks last year. Oh, that was Lance crazy. A chance. Give Lance a chance.
I had my microphone over here the whole time. You can hear me. Lame. All right, now you can probably hear me a little better. We didn't know Brock was good until he went out there with the starters. That's the thing. Kyle didn't give Brock a chance last year. That's the thing of all the people saying, oh, we shouldn't give Lance a chance. I'm like, well, we should have given Brock a chance last season. Why wouldn't you want to have your best QB start week? Why do you want your best QB to have to wait for the other QB to get injured or to flame out to get them on the field? Answer me that question. Why do you? And I'm not saying it's Trey Lance. I'm just saying we don't know. And if we let another team figure it out, we let Lance go and he hits his ceiling on it, this is something we'll never live down. Kyle will never live it down. And we as fans will never hear the end of it. And with good reason. Good reason. We moved up, moved heaven and earth to get this kid, and we didn't develop him and let him go to someone else. We already seen what Jeff Christensen could do with them in just a few practices in the offseason. It's night and day what he looks like out there.
For sure.
Crazy. Whoever the QB is, I'm riding with them. Yeah, I always say
easy.
Yeah, I root for whoever's QB on Sunday, even Jimmy G. But the other 6 days depends on how you did.
Yeah.
CG says, "Yo, our football. That's mine. There we go. I think I'm off the Trey Lance bus. All these QBs seem mid. I mean, that's what I said about Purdy when he was healthy. So I mean, I don't think Purdy's mid right now. I don't think Lance is mid right now. Darnold definitely is not mid, and Josh Allen, like, why is he even in there except for taking those preseason at the end of a game? That's the only thing I don't want to see him taking any reps where it could be even, just do Purdy 1, Lance 2, and Darnold 3. And
yeah, that's what it should be.
And, Allen a little bit so he doesn't get totally rusty, but not like on a regular basis, I don't think.
Brandon Allen actually had some good throws yesterday. I was surprised.
He did. He had the nice one on the sideline where the receiver just couldn't get his feet in. I was like, oh, big pass play. And then they show the replay. I'm like, oh, maybe not.
Yeah. Not to say he deserves any first team reps, but he did have some good.
Yeah, throws. He did. I mean, he was Burrow's backup. So
he's a vet, right? That's how he should play. He's a vet.
Let's see here. I'm going to try and show the comments for people who are on different channels. Country is better. Our second string is that bad. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. We better call Robbie back. I don't know about that.
Yeah, not yet.
I mean, we have money. We could do it. But, I mean, it would be a huge gaffe after giving up that third-round pick for Moody.
Right.
Especially, here's my thing. if Darnell Washington turns out to be good, I'm going to be a little bitter because when we picked Jair Brown, I was like, oh, I like that pick. Yeah. Remember us talking about him? And then 6 plays later, Darnell Washington comes off the board. I'm like, oh, that was my draft crush for tight end. So if like Moody busts, Latu busts, and
that's going to be tough.
Jair Brown, I think, is solid. But yeah, and Darnell Washington turns into the monster that he very well could be with that stature.
Yeah.
He what?
He has a lot of potential.
Yeah. I mean, he's like 6'8". He can block like anything great hands. He's just not real fast, but
yeah,
you don't have to be real fast to be good as a huge tight end who can block, who's basically like another O tackle. I mean, speaking of which, we got concerned about McKivitz. Like, I would have felt a lot better about McKivitz if we had Darnell Washington out there.
No, yeah, I feel like he's gonna like stir up a lot of holes, to your tackle positions. Like having him there is like having another athletic tackle.
I need my QB to be able to kick so we can pretend to go for it on fourth. That's funny. It's kind of like Danny White from the Cowboys. He used to punt. He used to punt some. So he do pooch punts. So it just totally trip people out. Like, oh, they're going for it on fourth down, and Danny White's like,
that'll be a good.
Yeah, back in the early '80s. Danny White was a quarterback that we beat for the catch to go to our first Super Bowl. A lot of people remember Roger Staubach, but it was Danny White then. Great one. Do we have another Mike Kofer? Oh, I called him Mike Ofer. So. Moody was Ofer yesterday, so at least with field goals anyway. TBD, but I don't think so. And you didn't seem to either, did you, Josh? Are you worried about Moody?
No, I'm not. This is game one. He probably had some nerves. I mean, the leg is there, but I want to see him again. Let's see him again. It sounds like he was doing good in, during practice. So let's just see him again. He has some game nerves.
We got Raul Espinoza in the house saying, Rainers, welcome, Raul. We even welcome Raiders fans here.
Everybody.
Not that nice to you guys, but, we feel a little bad. You guys, hey, you won your Super Bowl, though, yesterday. So congrats on that. Just let us know where you're going to hang the banner and wins the parade so we can avoid Vegas that day. So blame the coaches for Sunday loss. The team looked terrible. You got to not worry too much about wins and losses in preseason. Yeah. I mean, look at the Ravens. Like, they haven't lost a preseason game since before Lamar, and they're 1-3 in the playoffs with Lamar. I think I'd rather lose every preseason game and be what we are, which is 6-3 in the playoffs. 2 NFC championships and a Super Bowl in the last 3 NFC championships in the Super Bowl in the last 4 seasons. Let's not worry too much about the score. Just remember we got shut out by the Texans last year, 17-0. How did the Texans do? About second pick in the draft. So
there's not too many players that played yesterday that is going to play for us next year or this upcoming year.
Oliver, Womack. There's not a lot.
Jake Brown will get some there here and there.
He'll get some 3 safety looks as long as Gibson stays healthy. Yeah. Wilkes, hope he tightens the screws soon. Yeah, I mean, we got to get Bosa back before you worry about anything, guys. Bosa and Hargrave. I've been saying I think Hargrave could be Charles Haley 2.0, but in a good way. He killed us when he went to the Cowboys.
Yeah,
I think Hargrave's going to kill the Eagles by coming to us.
I think so too. He's a monster.
Randy, Ted, please make your mission get the Niners a beam. So he's playing with me because I'm a Warriors fan, and during the Warriors' first round, playoff against the Kings, he pretended to be a Kings fan and was saying, "Light the beam, light the beam." But really, he's a Detroit Pistons fan, man.
Oh, Detroit.
False advertising, Randy.
Pistons.
Cruel. Playing me like that. So I wouldn't mind if the Niners got a beam. That'd be kind of cool. And you could see it at Levi's from the stands, too. So
we need to add something to that stadium.
That'd be cool. I mean, forget the shade, let's get a beam, right?
Get a beam.
Everybody's going to roast, but at least you have a laser to look at after.
I'll be for that. We get a
burn
beam.
your eyes out after you get third-degree burns from the sun. So let's see here. James is saying, any thoughts on trade targets? Yeah, off right tackle, right guard. Not necessarily right guard, but another guard center type, a real center. All right, here's something. All right, this is something I saw all through camp. Was our second and third string centers could not snap the ball, whether it was Feliciano, whether it was they had Zakelj in there doing some, and then this other guy named Ishmael, I think. Keith Ishmael, maybe something Ishmael. So many bad snaps. And so when like people were like, oh, Trey Fold in Vegas, I'm like, that's the first thing I tweeted. Well, in camp, I saw a lot of bad stuff. I'm like, well, can you prove? And I'm like, I'm not proving anything. I'm just saying I saw it. It makes sense. You know, whether that's the case or not, I'm just saying this is the issue with all of our. It's because we have all these converted guys playing center. We don't draft centers. We don't trade centers. We don't sign centers. We like get all these other guys. We're like, oh, you can play center. Oh, you're a tackle. Yeah, you can play center guard. You know, you can play. And it bugs me to no end. I had a buddy who really wanted Olutami Oluokun, the one who went to Seattle out of Michigan this year. And I don't know. I mean, I like Robert Beal, but I'd rather have a good center, a good backup center behind Brandall.
I wonder why. Yeah, we don't have any natural backup center. No natural backup center. And
crazy. It shows. So yeah. O-line, get us some good backups for O-line. A good swing tackle. For a minute, I thought Leroy Watson was going to be that guy because he came in for Jalen Moore and played well in camp, but then he wasn't good, I think, in Vegas.
No. So. And Zakiel kind of got ran over a few plays. Like he had a tough stretch.
There you go. Randy says, can we sign JPP, veteran presence? Yeah, defensive end is another area of concern. Like a lot of us were clamoring for Yannick Ngakoue. You know, but he got signed and I guess to the Bears or something like that. So yeah, Jason Pierre-Paul, he'd be a good choice. A lot of people wanted Houston. I was never that wild about. Yeah, I feel like Houston's a little bit further down the road than I would want ideally. But Jason Pierre-Paul, I think, still has some gas left in the tank.
Yeah, and that would be a great signing. Just off the edge, yes, that would be a great signing. I'm for it.
Just make sure that when we light the beam, it's not fireworks.
It's not.
That's not brutal. Braden Willis should play more. Yes, Braden Willis. I absolutely think he should be our tight end too, if he can learn to block a little better. That's the knock on it. Blocking's the knock. So we'll see. Raider fans, all right, Jimmy. At least you beeped it out. We need to get more offensive depth, James. Hopefully, we trade.
That's a possibility.
For another one. So yeah, I mean that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
absolutely. Bad Boys, boom. Oh, thanks, Stevo. Stevo does Stevo Supremo. He does custom sneaks. So if anyone needs custom sneakers, hit Stevo up. Great audience member too. He also has like multiple accounts. So like if he subscribes to your channel, you could get a real boost. It could look like 5 or 10 people joining. So
let's go, Stevo.
The man. And I show today. Thanks, Jimmy. So everybody's saying I show, and actually we are getting close to 5, which is my hard stop. But was there anything you want to go over today, Josh? And CG's saying James, it must be a different. Oh, James Journal. Okay, never mind. I'm like, do you go by James or something?
No, not me. Definitely not me. There you go. We talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about.
What do you think about like season prediction? Like, where do you see the 49ers? Like, you think we win the West? What do you think our record is?
Yeah.
Who do you like in the NFC or like dislike, but like, you know?
So okay. So my prediction of the Niners, it depends on how healthy Purdy is. If he comes back and he's the same Purdy as last year, I think it's of course a 10 plus win team. I would say closer to like 11-12. The team I like in the NFC, and I don't even know if you can call them sleepers, but it's the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
I like them.
Great defense.
Great defense. Had a great defense.
I think Carr is a lot like Cousins. I think Carr and Cousins are both better than Jimmy G and a shit ton healthier. Oops,
definitely.
Sorry.
So yeah, and all the weapons that he has at his disposal. You got Kamara, you got all those receivers. If Michael Thomas can stay healthy, I think they're just
Olave,
Olave. Oh, he's
Juwan
good.
Jennings, or
Yes,
whatever his name is,
underrated tight
Juwan
end.
Johnson.
He's an underrated tight end. So they got
Yeah.
weapons. They got weapons, and I think they're definitely going to win the South. But I think they might make some noise in the NFC. So gotta look out.
Yeah, absolutely. That defense is so underrated because it was so injured last year.
Yeah,
Even like coming into our game, like they were missing everybody, especially Davenport and Cam Jordan, and they all came back the week we played them, and everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna." The content creator, I won't name his name, was saying, "Oh, we're gonna run all over them. They just so and so just ran for blah 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 against the Saints." I'm like, "No, man, their D is healthy, and those two ends are great run stuffers."
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like it's 13-3.
Right.
Luckily our defense showed up, or else that could have been big trouble. But yeah, their defense is great. I think they got a new running back too that they're real high on besides Kamara.
TCU.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I like them as a sleeper. Yeah, I'm with you. I was 13-4, but then I saw that we're minus 20 rest days, which is worse than the league. And there's like 3 teams at plus 12. So literally there's 3 teams, the Bears, Jets, and one other team have 32 more rest days than us in like a 4.5 month season.
That's tough.
Massive advantage. Second to most travel miles in the whole league. And we play 4 teams coming off their bye, which is a very abnormally high number since most teams only get 1 bye a season. So that's like 4x. So and this year might be a little different because there's more to just that Thursday night flex thing. We'll see. And obviously Thanksgiving. But bottom line is, I'm like 12-5, 11-4, or 11-6. And I like the Saints as a sleeper for sure. I like Seahawks. I hate the Seahawks. They're my least favorite team, but I think they'll do well this season. I think the Lions might be the top bottom playoff team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The Lions, they've made some strides last year.
They did, and their D held them back, and they really shored up that D. They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They got Eman from us. They got a lot. They drafted another edge, I think, to go with Hutchinson. Lions, and I like their bite their kneecaps coach. I'm like,
I like him. He's doing something right over there.
Dan Campbell,
he's doing something over there.
Yeah, I like that. So, but my top are still Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, and I was saying Niners, Cowboys, Eagles, but the Eagles signed Zach Cunningham and Miles Jack, and like one of my knocks on them was they let all their linebackers go, and they got some like good guys, that they already had, but when they added those guys, are like pretty good. That's a concern. I mean, and supposedly Jalen Carter is looking good, but I don't trust him. I don't trust him character-wise. I don't trust him motor-wise. And the thing is, it's like all these rookies, 50% of them bust, and of the 50% that make it, a lot of times it takes way more than 1 year, especially D tackles. Coming into the league, trying to get used to man size, double teams in the middle from real guards and real centers. I don't know. Anyway, so now I've got it back again. Niners ahead of the Eagles, ahead of the Cowboys as the top 3. But the Cowboys done some good things. Oh, I guess one thing that could really hurt the Cowboys is their right guard, who's arguably up there with Trent Williams as one of the best O linemen in the league.
They just signed him, right?
Did they?
I think so. They just signed him.
Is that the news? I heard something today, and I just didn't check to see. Nate, something or other.
Cowboys are always talented, too. Always have a lot of talent.
Well, and they added Gilmore, and they added Brandon Cooks. Part of why we beat them was, Pollard going down, and then all they had was CeeDee Lamb for explosive player. Dalton Schultz was a great fantasy player. He got a lot of TDs, but like push comes to shove, you can't carry a team with him.
Right.
But now they got Cooks, CD, and Pollard. That's a good 3-headed monster of playmakers. So I don't know. We'll see. Zach Martin, that's his name, right? The right guy, Zach Martin. Yeah. So he signed today, huh? Interesting. If anybody in the chat could fill in the details on that, I'd love to see what he got. I'm imagining if McGlinchey got 17.5 and Trent's at 23, I'm thinking he got 24 or 25. But it's probably just a 1-year deal, though, right? Or I don't even know what.
I don't know.
I'd be curious. I could see him resetting the market. Well, I guess he's a guard, though. He's not going to get as much as a left tackle. What, maybe 22, 23? That'd be interesting to see. I doubt he gets much less than Trent Williams.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. But
he got a 99 in Madden. They can't.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a Madden guy.
He's doing something right.
There you go. Can we sign Robert Quinn? I think we could. I don't know if he's still available. He's decent, but he's lower. I have got him in like the Justin Houston level, just like maybe half a season, last gasp. I don't see him being a full contributor for a full season anymore.
I'm going to stick with Drake and the other guys.
Yeah. Jalen Moore's been with this team for 37 years. Stop tripping. It's true. He's been here forever, but the guy just has not put it together.
I think only 3 years, right? Is it only 3 years, 4 years?
I'm forgetting when he was drafted, to be honest.
3 or 4.
He was like honestly, I totally blanked on Jalen Moore. But I know he was here. He was here like he played. I remember him playing vividly in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And he made some mistakes, and that's when Kyle was just like, "No."
I remember
he his assignments. It was mental mistakes, and
yeah.
And Kyle was just like, And I remember wanting Trey to get more than just like the last series of the game for kneel downs, essentially, or handoffs. I wanted Trey to get some actual reps in that game. And so that was 2021. So he's at least been here since 2021. I know that. That's probably it. Anyway, I think everybody's just saying hi. So yeah, I think we've covered most everything. If we forget, we can always catch up another time. But Josh, thanks for coming on. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you. And yeah, anytime, honestly. And if we do it again, like, let's do it on your channel and we can stream back to mine that time. That way we're being fair about it. And again, anybody who's watching on TED Talks Ball, make sure you go over to Josh's channel. That's Josh Harper TV. The link's in the description. Get him a like and subscribe. And anyone watching on Josh's channel, if you could do the same for me, I'd be very appreciative. Otherwise, I'll just say go Niners. So give Lance a chance, baby. Come on.
Give Lance a chance.
Let's find out what we got before some other team does.
I know.
Come on, Kyle.
That will be a mistake.
Stop it, Kyle. Stop the prop up Purdy agenda.
Yeah.
At least till he earns it. I mean, that's my thing. And people are like, well, you earned it last year. I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about since the injury and the surgery. Yeah. It's just, it's disheartening. Yeah. But I mean, I understand the mindset. If we really believe that he'll be ready week 1 like he was in 2022, there's almost nothing Lance could do in this preseason that could unseat him. Yeah.
He could have a crazy game.
Yeah, because the same way they love Jimmy and revolted, the locker room would revolt over that. I do understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I haven't seen it yet. And it doesn't sound like anybody who's being honest and unbiased has seen it yet either.
So we'll see Saturday. I'm excited. I can't wait for Saturday. So let's.
Sounds good, Josh. All right. Well, I'll just say peace, everybody, and go Niners.
Go Niners. Take care, Ted.